Welcome to The Pulse. In the bulletin, scores of patients stranded at various hospitals as nurses and midwives begin indefinite strike over conditions of service. We will be speaking with leadership of the association as the NLC secures an injunction on their strike. On the campaign trail, the former president has moved his campaign to the Bono region, where he's been urging voters to take advantage of the ongoing exhibition exercise as he preaches peace ahead of the polls. President Akufo-Addo begins his first working visits to the ECOWAS mission in Abuja, where he has been talking free trade and political stability among member states. All this and more in 90 minutes. Stay with us. Glad you could join us. Down first story, scores of patients have been left stranded at various hospitals across the country today as nurses and midwives began a nationwide strike over conditions of service. Though the National Labour Commission has secured an injunction to prevent the action, the striking nurses maintain they have not officially been served. My colleague Manuel Kranting was at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital earlier, where patients have been left unattended to.
One by one, all the nurses on duty at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital walk out of the facility as they join their colleagues across the country in protest of what they describe as deplorable working conditions. Led by the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, the striking nurses are complaining about government's unwillingness to meet their demands in negotiations which have been underway since September 2019. At the Accident Emergency Unit of Kolebu, patients were turned away by nurses who were rounding up their shift. They will not even be allowed to pick their folders under the instruction, no new patients are being admitted.
And then we came back again, and they are still telling us that because they are going on strike, we should take our patients away. So my question is, where to? This is somebody on oxygen. So where are we taking her to?
Around 2 a.m. at the dawn. When we came with the emergency. We came to the emergency center. They told us there is no oxygen. And I'm telling them, are they supposed to tell me Kolebu as a teaching hospital, the emergency center does not have an oxygen? What are they telling us? Where are we supposed to go? We are from Kolebu. So when we are sick, we are supposed to come to Kolebu. But we came and then they were telling us we should go elsewhere. And I don't know where to go.
We came around 7 and went for a card, but they said they won't give me because they are not admitting any new case because they are on strike.
More patients were stranded at the maternity block where expectant and lactating mothers alike were seen lurking around with no available nurse to attend to them.
Doctors, what's a doctor? What's the doctors na work on it? Obiya nye ejuma. Nti yetana na ye ma bofo na nufo na ye wia ya coffee. Eba no we ageno to an operation. Nti ya ba 2 weeks na ye na ye ba 6 weeks anka ye ba ne wo hwe na anka ye ma ha bi wo ba refa hia akọ be wia ye wo na ya kọ wenyi wo ho. Nti ya menya doctor mo wan hwe nti de yes, baby.
Oh, maybe I have 7 to 8 more. Maybe bedroom, yes, see doctors got strike. Me who ye and then I 2 weeks almost a member review. The doctors got strike, they are at hand here, be coffee. I'm
saying nurses and not doctors.
Yes, so Sunny, I tell you, almost say doctors, need nurses, the nurses be a new or more age. I was say a coffee. Baby, will be any. Maybe a veggie food and a promote.
While the tussle between the nurses and government continues, patients who are in the crossfire are pleading with government to urgently resolve the issue. For JoyNews, Manuel Kranting.
Now in the northern region, Martina Bugri spoke to some nurses about their action.
We are here just to ensure that our members comply with the directives given to us from the national level. And it is just simple. As at last night, we're still expecting that government will call us to the negotiating table. Till this morning, 8 a.m., there was still that opportunity for us to be able to have that discussion and to get to a compromise. And we never had that. So at 7:59 a.m. this morning, from the national leadership, we're told that what we were waiting for was not forthcoming. For that matter, the intended strike is declared. And for that matter, we should ensure at our various levels that that strike really comes to fruition. And that is why we are here.
How long do you intend to hold this strike?
As long as the grievances are not addressed.
Not even plea from your patients who you have sworn an oath to serve will push you to want to come back?
We will be grateful if this plea is directed to the employer to listen to us so that we have sound mind to be able to give them the better service they require.
Still in that part of the country, Martina spoke to some patients who were in tears.
They have collected the paper from there around 6 up to the data has not yet. But they are telling us they are on strike, what and what. I don't even know what to do. So as now from my children, my daughter from, she's at home. When I wake up, she was sleeping. I didn't even back.
I can see tears in your eyes. What's going through your mind?
As at now, because they've not taken any care of my sister. And when she's vomiting still, the blood is coming. So I don't even know what to do. They're telling us they are on strike, so I don't know whether they should let us go. I don't know. But if we ask any of them, they will say that we should wait for the data to come.
Fathers, they are almost young. The doctors for me, they are almost. And some is me by higher, and my home. Let me just folder now.
Ilyasu Tanko joins us on the line from the northeast region. Ilyasu, remind us, what is the situation where you've been?
Well, I'm still standing at the Wale Government Hospital where I have been since morning, and patients keep coming in and authorities are still asking them to go elsewhere for care. You know that the region has witnessed some floods and people struggle before they are able to come from their villages to the regional capital, the municipal capital where the hospital is currently. And so these people, they try to cross flooded waters and come here only for authorities to tell them that they will not be able to take care of them. As I speak, this afternoon, an accident vehicle, a motor accident victim actually came to the facility, but there was nobody to attend to him, and those who brought him had to return with him away from the hospital. And so the situation remains the same. People keep coming and authorities keep turning them back.
Right. Thank you very much, Ilyasu Tanko. Joining us via Zoom is General Secretary of the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association, GRNMA, David Tenkrai Chum. Mr. Chum, thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Our first question will be, what specifically are the concerns which have not been addressed?
All right. Good afternoon, my brother, and good afternoon to your viewers and listeners. Indeed, we are talking about condition of service. And as far as we are concerned, we shouldn't have gotten to this position. It's quite regrettable. Seeing tears flowing down the eyes of a patient is quite unfortunate. But for the intransigent position of the government, or if you like, the handlers of those who are negotiating with us, we wouldn't have gotten to this side. We are asking for few things, quite reasonable things, things that should have been given to nurses and midwives, certified registered anesthetists and physician assistant long ago. This battle should have been fought and won long ago, not now. All right. So what we are asking for, allowances. Okay. Can you imagine that somebody has worked for 10 years, for 15 years, for 20 years, and doesn't have a single allowance component as part of his salary? I mean, what kind of work is that?
What specific allowances are you asking for?
We're asking for category, non-core category 2 and 3 allowances. One, we're asking for rent allowance. I mean, look at how difficult it is to find accommodation as a young nurse or a young midwife, especially the community health nurses and rural nurses when they are sent to villages and all that. So what we are asking for is a paltry percentage of their basic salary as rent allowance, so that at least they can use it to support their accommodation needs. We are asking for transport allowance, all right? When COVID reared its ugly head, look at how people struggled to be able to even go to hospital to take care of our patients, all right? We had something we call car waiver. Those days, I mean, if you had somebody elsewhere or you're able to accumulate a little amount of money, you could import a car and the government will weigh the taxes for you. It was removed. Virtually anything, everything that goes to a nurse, a midwife, a certified registered anesthetist or a PA was virtually removed. All right. So these are some of the basic things that we are asking for. We are asking for book and research allowance for nursing tutors who teach in various NTCs. All right. So that at least they can, improve upon their skills in terms of teaching and the depth of whatever they can teach in the various schools. So we are not asking for anything big. I'm sure all these things, brothers in the corporate world, even Joy FM, will be receiving.
Right. Now, you keep saying that you are not asking for anything big. You said that about 2 or 3 times, but balance that against the lives of people who may be lost, which may be lost in this period, the pain that your patients may go through. Is it worth these people suffering?
That is why I recounted earlier on that we shouldn't have gotten to this position if people were not that high-handed, okay? If people were not exhibit a certain intransigent posture, we shouldn't have gotten to this level. It is quite regrettable. I am a trained nurse anesthetist, or if you like, certified registered anesthetist, and I find it extremely difficult not to administer anesthesia for patients that critically need it. All right. So government should listen to us. We are not asking for high heavens. Whatever we are asking for is reasonable and legitimate, and it can be met.
What has government's response been?
Only to intimidate and employ communist inferior tactics to either divide our ranks or, force us to kowtow to the pressures thereof.
When you say communist inferior tactics, what do you mean?
At the time that we were called to the negotiation table, the last time we sat on the table, we were reliably informed that an old retired midwife who claims to have broken away from our association and is heading another union was called somewhere, so that she can issue a statement, which she did issued, okay, like a counter statement to our strike. And all these things are not right, okay? I mean, if we think that what we are asking for is legitimate, find time and let us talk. But to use some of these ploy, it is, there is a saying that you can't teach an old dog a new trick. This association has been there since 1960. We've gone through all of these things before, and we are very much aware of this. So, it's unfortunate we are where we are now.
Forgive me, Mr. Tinkran, if I seem to be belaboring the points, but the visuals rolling on our screen, people who are basically helpless at the hospitals, you seem very unbothered, if I can use that expression, by this.
I think you are wrong. I made a statement that I'm a trained certified registered anesthetist, and I find it quite appalling that I'm not in a position to be able to give anesthesia to my patients. I'm very much concerned if you are looking for people who really are empathetic. There's nurses and midwife, physician assistant, and certified registered anesthetist. By virtue of the pain of people, I'm extremely bothered by what I'm seeing, and I'm not happy at all. But we have been pushed to the wall. We expect Ghanaians to speak to government, and for that matter, the employer, to listen to the demands of the nurses and midwives, as well as our allied associations.
So you've been directed by the National Labour Commission, NLC, to withdraw this strike. Have you seen this letter?
We are not aware of that. As far as we are concerned, we have not been officially served. And as a responsible labor union and responsible leaders as we are, we cannot flout the orders of a high court. Never can we do anything like that. If we are properly served, we shall comply accordingly.
Right. Please hold on for us. We've been joined by the Executive Secretary for the National Labour Commission, Ofosu Asamoah, on telephone. Mr. Asamoah, thank you very much for joining us. Did you serve the Ghana Registered Nurses and Midwives Association with a letter asking them to withdraw the intended strike?
Yes, we sent our officer there to serve them with a bailiff. At the time he got to their offices at Okonglo, at the reception, they came back to tell him they were in a meeting that he waited. He kept waiting for more than an hour, close to 2. And all he could realize was that those who were in the meeting had gone out and were driving their cars away. But the administrator of the office, one Mr. Abodu, was there. And we tried to effect service on him. He refused to...
Right, please speak up. Pardon me, Mr. Ofosu Asamoah. If you can raise your voice, we're finding it difficult to hear you.
Personnel from our office and the bailiff was sent to their offices at Okonglo to serve them. They were then in a meeting. So whilst waiting at the reception and having been notified that we were bringing them an invitation from the commission and the order from the court, we were waiting when they left through another day and drove their vehicles away. Now, Mr. Buedu, who is the administrator of the office and who at all times is in the position and a proper person to be served, refused to take the service of the order and the letter. So I was called, I was there in the office. I spoke to him myself personally that this is what we are sending to you. Please take it. And this is the content. You can read it. And he says no. And that he was under instructions. He works under instructions. So I asked him, are your instructions that you shouldn't receive the invitation and the order? He says, yes, it works under instructions. And that we can go and bring it later. So that was it. So when they failed to take the service, a copy was pasted on their notice board, which was there at this morning. So and they were still reading it. So I don't know if I'm serving you with a letter and you refuse to take it, and you go and say, I haven't seen the letter. What do I say? You don't want to see it. In any way, a copy is posted on their notice board. We have served them by SMS and WhatsApp, that is electronic. And we have served them notice of it through all the media stations, including yours, which is up for discussion now. But you see, when it comes to injunction and some of these interlocutory orders, it is not limited to personal service as if you were being cited for contempt where you have to be served in person. When it comes to injunction and when you have noticed, even through a corset, it is enough to, prove service.
Right.
So they are very much aware. They have been served electronically. We tried serving them in person. They refused to take it. We posted it on their notice board at Okonglo, which is there now today, unless it has been removed as I'm talking to you. But as at this moment, it was there, and we saw people reading it. I sent people there.
Okay, so if you can just hold on just a moment, Mr. Ofosu Asamoah, let me take those thoughts to David Tinkwine Chum, who is with us via Zoom. Mr. Chum, so I believe you just heard Mr. Ofosu Asamoah. He says that your administrator at the GRNMA office refused to take the letter, and so they posted that on your notice board. Is that true?
I'm unable to substantiate that. All these allegations that he's talking about. I mean, who told him that those who were in that meeting were officers of the association? And at what time was it pasted at the notice board? If somebody, do I stay there till 7 p.m. or 6 p.m.? Let's find out from him what material time was the notice pasted. If I come to the facility and I leave at 3 p.m., an officer comes there at 5 p.m. to paste a notice on a long holiday, how do I get to read that notice?
Mr. Tenkran, is the notice on your notice board?
I'm even surprised. I'm even surprised that the executive secretary should make statement to this effect. All right? I mean, how can you say such a thing? As far as I'm concerned, I cannot substantiate whatever he's saying. And I'm not too sure he knows what he's talking about.
So are you aware that the notice has been placed on your notice board, Mr. Tenkran?
I'm not aware that the notice has been placed on the notice board, and the administrator hasn't. There is a notice on the notice board. I have not spoken to the administrator. It's a long holiday. I left the secretariat around 3 p.m. Let's find out from him if the bailiff got to the secretariat at 3 p.m. I'm saying that we are very responsible labor union, and under no circumstance can we defy the orders of the court. What we expect them to do is to do the right thing. They must do the right thing. They have the highest, the powers of the High Court. Why didn't they write to us as Labour Commission to restrain us from embarking on this journey instead of going to the High Court to secure injunction? It is just an intimidatory ploy, and we will not be intimidated.
Mr. Tenkran, are you aware that if a letter of service is posted on the notice board of your premises, the court deems it as you've been served? You're aware of that, right?
What I'm saying is that I have not read it. No agent of the association had read any letter and notified us same. So if it is there, you place a letter Friday evening and officers of the association are not there. This is a long weekend. It's a holiday. How do you expect us to see? So how can you just sit in your office and come to that logical conclusion that we have been notified?
Right. So I'm confused, Mr. Tenkran. Has the letter gotten to your office or not? In one breath, you say you are not aware of the letter. In another breath, you say that it got to your office after you left here at 3 p.m. Is it in your office or not?
I'm not saying that. Don't misquote me. What I'm saying is that he is alleging that he brought a letter, Bailey brought a letter. I have not admitted or said anything that the letter got here. I'm not aware of any letter that has been sent.
I just wanted to clarify that, if I may, Mr. Tenkran, I was asking earlier, you know, when the High Court is serving a person and the person can't be found, we have seen that precedent has been set that if this notice is put on the notice board, you are deemed as served. Are you aware of this?
What I'm saying is that what shows that we cannot be traced or we cannot be saved.
So what I'm asking is, are you aware of the fact that if it's put on a notice board, you are deemed as served, Mr. Tenkran?
Is it a substituted service? I am saying that I'm not aware that there is anything at the notice board. He is alleging. No officer of the association has called my attention to the fact that there is a notice board, a notice pasted on a notice board. That is what I'm trying to allude to. I hope you must understand what I'm trying to say.
Okay. So just for the matter of record, is what Mr. Fosa Samoa saying untrue?
I'm unable to say whether it is true or not, because I have not been to the secretariat. I have not read anything on the notice board. No official of the secretariat had called to inform me that such a notice has been pasted on the notice board. That's exactly what I'm saying.
Right.
And we are on a long weekend until tomorrow. If I go there, then I'm sure I'll be able to.
Right.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Let me go
I have not admitted anywhere that I saw a bailiff or I saw a bailiff deliver or paste any notice on the notice board.
Very quickly, there were a couple of allegations also made by Mr. Fosa Samoa when he said that officials of your organizations were served electronically because these documents were sent via WhatsApp. He also said that The administrator says he was under orders not to receive any document. In fact, he, Mr. Ofosu-Asamoah, insists that he spoke to your administrator, that he had been instructed not to receive any such documents. Can you speak to that?
I have not spoken to the administrator for him to have confirmed what Mr. Ofosu-Asamoah is saying. So I'm unable to answer that question.
Have you received any documents via WhatsApp?
I have not received any document by WhatsApp from Mr. Ofosu-Asamoah. If I'm a general secretary of the association, I reckon that it is easy to get my number. I have not received anything of that sort. The president of the association is available, is in Accra. She hasn't received any letter on WhatsApp or whatever he's trying to talk about. We are not aware of that. Look, let me make it clear that we will not intentionally avoid this notice if it is the case. All right. I don't believe in his speculations. I mean, if you listen to him carefully, it's like everything that he said is based on speculation. I send somebody there and somebody says. How can you authenticate what the person said?
Well, just to be fair to Mr. Ofosu-Asamoah, he says he spoke to your administrator himself. Just to be fair to him, he says he spoke to the administrator himself.
The administrator has not spoken to me.
That's fair. I just want to thank you. That's fair.
Mr. Ofosu has spoken to him.
Thank you. Thank you very much, David Tenkran-Chum, for joining us. I just want to wrap up quickly with Mr. Ofosu-Asamoah on the other line. So is it that you did not send the documents to the General Secretary or to the President of the organization?
When you want to serve something on the National Labour Commission, we have 7 commissioners, members of the commission. But being sitting there as the executive secretary of no, not a member of the commission, a service of a note on me or any process on me is deemed to be a service on the commission. In the same way, as the general secretary, he doesn't sit in their office 24 hours. That is why they have engaged an administrator. I didn't talk about a typist secretary or a messenger. He is the administrator of the office. So we are effecting service on him. We wanted to serve Perpetua, their president, or he, the general secretary. And both of them were evading service. So we had to serve it on the administrator, who came out and said that he is under instructions. He was under instructions. What the instructions, specific instructions were, we don't know. But what he said is that he will not take it. I spoke to him in person. I am not saying I sent somebody else.
When you say the president and general secretary are evading service, what do you mean?
They said, I come to look for the MD of Joy FM. And said the Joy FM and management are in a meeting. I tell you, I have a process to serve on them. Please wait at the reception when they complete. Before,
he says he wasn't there. He says he left the office around 3 p.m. on Friday. He was not there.
Around what?
Around 3 p.m. on Friday. He was not there when your officer got there to serve them.
We were not in the meeting. It is their same administrator who said they were in a meeting. I am not there. If I come to Joy FM and you tell me that management are in a meeting, wait at the reception. When they finish, we give it to them. And they are going for me to tell who is in the room. It is all later. But the most important thing is, whether he was there or not, that could be relevant for now. The most important thing is, the administrator of the office was there, Mr. Bwedu, and he refused service. And he told me in person, I am not giving a reported speech. I spoke to him, and he said he's under instructions. Anyway,
I just want to make a final point. Pardon me, Mr. Ofosu-Asamoah. I just want you to make a final point. You are being accused of using communist inferior tactics.
No, you said the government. He didn't say me.
Well, he also said that you went to, if you'll allow me to land, he also said that you did not even need to go to court to secure a document and to secure an injunction. You have the powers of the High Court. You could have simply written a letter, but all of this was in a way trying to intimidate them by going to court. Those were his words.
We sent an invitation to them and they refused. You know, the proper thing was for them to notify us that negotiations had broken down, they faced a deadlock, and for that matter, they want to go on strike. That is where the National Labour Commission will come in, call the parties, and have the matter resolved within 3 days by putting up an arbitrating committee panel to have it heard at the compulsory arbitration as provided by the law. But as soon as negotiations broke down, as they said, they held a press conference without informing the National Labour Commission that there was a deadlock, and for that matter, they intend to go on strike. So they did not go by the provisions of the Labour Act. Now, he keeps mentioning it's a long weekend. It's a long weekend, it's a holiday. As at the time of declaring the strike to begin today, 21st, they knew that it was a long weekend because today was a holiday. Why didn't they wait until a working day? Excuse me, but you see the hypocrisy. I am serving you, you say I won't take it. Then you go back and say I don't know what it is about. When you had all the opportunity to take it and read it. I have mentioned the name that Mr. Buedu, the administrator, you employed him to man your office for you. The proper thing between 3 days ago till today, when it's been in the news and everywhere, is to take your phone and inquire from Mr. Buedu, did you receive anything? Are you telling me from yesterday, today, and 3 days ago, when it happened, and with the news or GNA, online, everywhere, when he has held several interviews, even today, from morning, he hasn't got the opportunity to call Mr. Buedu or to call any person in their offices or drive to the place to see whether there was anything on the notice board.
Mr. Ofoso Asamoah, thank you very much. Thank you very much, sir, for joining us. Ofoso Asamoah is the Executive Secretary for the National Labour Commission. You're live on The Pulse with me, Daniel Dazi, and this is your election headquarters. Former President John Dramani Mahama has ended his 4-day campaign tour of the Bono East region. He started another 4-day tour of the Bono region. Now, he's currently at Wenchi, where he has been advising voters to ensure they go and check their details in the voter register in the ongoing voters exhibition. John Mahama says they will ensure peaceful elections in December.
The Election Commission on the registers number. Yes, we are conscious and the woman. A bit more of Fiala, a bit more of Memenda, and Rampo, a bit more of the bit more of Omuni. There's some more president on Omuni. I know it's 1 foul card now we leave the one. Now, about what I do. Na ukta card, but within the card and one home pay my own to it's the person bia pen rekaka simaka kremi the okoya outro you know sanko na fa card no kochre o mejum e 1 minute ago within one because I within one na mama ke within the one the card bi ma ni afile within the bia o dey come back na o dey within action the Israel Obiena Simakaka na Mokotesa and the craft of the Atlantic. I said, the Shamu said, yeah, and this is what they are so beautiful. The entire battle on your tone of friendship, numbers of us, and Namaduti, the very good name ever. Invisible forces, and now Delta forces, and now Sahab vigilante for them. If you send the Banakasa, everyone and that can over. We are Otuaban, the Otuaban, or some more and that can over. We are the same about one. At the end, you are chef in Palestine. If you say a month for people who can they deny elections no mind. Send a layer friendship. Now, the your pay, am I? As in your ministry. Now, the say I'm back. The say I'm back. I mean, every year I want my day. Always ready to me. Now, one my NDC about. Never thought they come up. On the Saturday, na awofo and a better woman. And here, say, Utian, here, na a Obaba, na Wakofa Yufu, na Bravo say. Say a Beman Swat, Otifi a onye hwe no. Wa hwe ni no bodi saka wa poesia.
Our President Akufo-Addo is also on his first official tour of the ECOWAS mission in Abuja, where he has been speaking free trade and political stability in member states.
Functioning ECOWAS rebounds to the benefit of each of its member states. We must thus continue to build a united, economically prosperous, politically stable and secure community that meets the aspirations of the citizens of our community. As we round up the implementation of ECOWAS Vision 2020 and finalize the development of Vision 2050, we should strive to make ECOWAS a community in which our dreams of prosperity, peace, security, integration, and development are realized for the well-being of its citizens. Our generation of West Africans, indeed of Africans, are undertaking one of the most noble ventures of human history, engineering the transformation of poor societies into prosperous ones on the basis of democratic values and principles. European, American, and Asian industrialization took place at times of limited franchises and authoritarian institutions. Ours is being done with full universal adult suffrage in open societies. This is the magnitude of our challenge and the nature of our prize. We should all be proud of being frontline actors in this great drama.
And you're still live on The Pulse here on the Joy News channel. My name is Daniel Daze. Stay with us. Now, the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is set to vaccinate 70% of dogs in Ghana this year. This is to help eradicate rabies from the country. The national exercise is expected to begin from the Upper East region on the 28th of September 2020 under the theme End Rabies, Collaborate and Vaccinate. About 1,000 dogs are expected to be vaccinated this year. Joining me in studio is Dr. Richard Suire. He is the chairman for Rabies in West Africa and senior lecturer, School of Veterinary Medicine, University of Ghana. Also here with me is Dr. Benjamin Kisi Sasu. He is a media coordinator, Rabies in West Africa. He's also a veterinary doctor. First of all, let me start with you, Dr. Suire. Now, 70% vaccination by the Ministry of Food and Agriculture is a very ambitious target, isn't it?
Well, too ambitious. It's too ambitious because we don't even have our dog population on hand. Before you go for vaccination, you need to know how many dogs you have. And then you then talk of vaccinating 70%.
Oh, okay.
But though this year is very important. Why is it important? Because there's two critical documents that government has signed. And I think we have been following this document for so many years. It has been signed.
Which document?
It shows a commitment. One, we have a strategic plan. Because if you want to join the community that are eliminating rabies, you need to have a strategic plan so that you have donor partners supporting you. That document has been there. It has been signed. One, the international community, that is World Organization for Animal Health and WHO, have sent out commitment form for every country to sign that they are committed to eliminating rabies by 2030. That has also been signed. This is good news for veterinarians and for the public health in this country.
Okay, I'll come to what governments must do very shortly. But Dr. Sasu, why is it so important that governments would make these commitments to eradicate rabies?
Yes, there are two things. Rabies is 100% fatal. It means once somebody gets it, start to manifest in the person, the clinical signs and symptoms, the person will die outright. There's no treatment for it. The good news is that it's vaccine preventable. It means that if we vaccinate our dog population, we could eliminate rabies and we could be free. Countries like Libya, Mauritius, in Africa have done it. Why not Ghana? We hit our chest when we talk about peace. Why don't we do rabies? And in Ghana, it's so sad that it's part of the neglected tropical disease. So you meet people and people, it's like looks new to them. They don't know what rabies is about. But people are also dying. When you look at World Health Organization, their statistics, 70,000 per year. That is even those who are able to report. 95% happens in Africa and Asia. So looking at it, Africa, we are part as Ghana.
Yeah.
And it's going to mean that with the 70,000 per year means 144 per day. And every 10 minutes we are losing a life. And the sad thing is that 0 to 15 year people, that is children, they are the majority victims.
That's very sad indeed. That's very sad indeed. And it really draws a picture for us to understand why governments must take an action such as this. But from where you stand, Dr. Syria, we are not at the right footing yet to achieve this target of 70%.
Yes. There are a lot of things to do in order to say we are coming to vaccinate 70%.
Like what?
Yeah, like I was saying, you need to have your doc census handy, that you know that these are the areas. You need to even mop up, to know what is the situation in the country. Then you need to get the logistics. You have to get your vaccines, you have to get your necessary vaccination aids and all those things. And even the staff. You know, we have been shouting about inadequacy of veterinary staff in the country.
Yeah.
It's still there. So how can you go out and vaccinate 70% when you don't even have? You remember the good old days when we were children? Every year, they take 2 weeks to do mass dog vaccination. After that, any dog on the street would have attacked is arrested.
Yeah.
All that is not done. It will take us time to go back to full activity. Yeah. So there are a lot to prepare towards that.
Okay. In the meantime, Dr. Sasso, what can we do?
In the meantime, for civil, NGOs like us, we are creating awareness because education is very key. Because even children need to know that when they get a scratch or a bite from a dog, what they need to do, or the ordinary person walking around need to do. Pet owners need to do what they could play, the role they could play in helping elimination of rabies. If not that, we can't be waiting for government. 2030 looks very far, but it's not far. We could work at it, and within the next 3 or 4 years, we could come out of it. And various NGOs, bodies are coming together to help vaccinate this year. And we hope government will listen, and as they have signed a strategic plan, commit resources. If you commit resources for 4 to 5 years, we'll have all these issues gone.
Do you have an idea how much we need to invest every year for maybe the next 5 years?
Before we go to that, when somebody gets bitten and scratched and it needs to be prevented from getting rabies, the treatment, the least you could get is 300 Ghana cedis. Whilst for a dog, the expensive could go is 30 cedis for a dog vaccine. So when you do the mathematics, you could see that it's better we do the dog population. We have the vaccination being done for them. And with that, we could save that of humans. And the death of a human from due to rabies is so shameful that people do not tell people. It's so shameful that a lot of people have died that people are not aware of. Some have been told that they have traveled overseas, but they can't. I've met people who have shared stories of telling that his own son died, and they have told the people that he's school with that his son has traveled overseas, but not to, the person died of rabies. Because you see a human being foaming at the mouth, a human being hallucinated by barking, being so aggressive, which is so sad for you to see. And every time you could hear that people die of rabies, but that and our reporting also is always ongoing. What about the rural folks who don't get any chance to vaccinate their dogs at all? These are things that I was talking about.
You can imagine, Dr. Syria, with the, if I can use the expression, the superstition that is associated with us here as Africans. If someone begins to foam at the mouth and begins to bark like a dog, I'm trying to imagine the kind of conclusions we will jump to.
Yeah, but it's scientific, because what happens is that the virus go to your brain, that control your sense organs and destroy it. So if the virus destroys your brain and destroys the organs that are supposed to regulate you, you cannot move, you get paralyzed. You cannot talk because your nerves, your voice, they're all destroyed. So you attempt to cry of the pains, and that is the hallucination. You just howl and like a dog because your voices and cords are all broken.
Okay.
So that's why he's saying it's a highly protected disease. Because everything, it's very highly protected. Because everything in you has been destroyed. Yes. Yeah,
but I wanted to know if we want to make this sort of statewide investment. You said 30 cedis per dog. And in my intro, I mentioned that about 1,000 we would like to do 1,000 dogs this year. That's a very small number. But
yeah, very small.
If we want to...
Yes, I would say, you see, some years back, you know, rabies in West Africa was a lone buffalo, just making noise around. This time, the 1,000 dogs is just in Accra. It's in Accra alone, which they did very well by mobilizing resources to vaccinate taxing dogs within a short period of time. In the Upper West region, where rabies in West Africa going, is vaccinating a minimum of 6,000 dogs.
Interesting.
Yeah. And that is within 3 districts.
3 districts?
3 districts.
And we have more than 200 in the country. So you can imagine. That gives you an idea.
We have more than a million dogs.
Do you have a figure?
We don't have a figure. That is why I'm saying it's a gradual process. We take that, and God willing, Agambal is a company that is helping us because they are doing the spraying in the country.
Okay.
We are hoping that next year they will do other regions because they have got all set for Upper West region. We have got the dog population. Now you go in and then you can budget how many dogs you need to vaccinate.
You know what? Time is our enemy when we're having such a good conversation. In 30 seconds, can you help me by giving us some practical tips as pet owners, as regular human beings, Dr. Sasu?
What we are telling all pet owners is that you need to be responsible. What do we mean by being responsible? Provide shelter, vaccinate your dog against rabies every year. Then somebody who get bitten, get a scratch from a dog, or get a scratch from a cat, or a rabid animal, or any animal. Get a running water, 15 minutes, wash the site with soup, and a running water with soap, if possible. After I get rubbing alcohol or povidone iodine. After I report to the nearest health center, make sure the animal is taken to the nearest veterinary center. There will be a collaboration to see what type of treatment. You don't need to stay for long because time is a factor. Because the site of the location of the bite is very important. If it happens to your leg, there's long time. If it happens around your chest or your arm, it's closer to your brain. So the closer to your brain, the faster the virus will spread. All we need to do that, don't provoke animals. Some people enter people's house, they see a dog somewhere, they want to throw stones, they want to try and hit them. Don't provoke. They are friendly. We don't say hate animals. Love them, provide for them. Always when we talk about rabies, we always talk about the aspect of humans. They also need to be cared for because they also get paralyzed, they also get to die. But at the end of the day, it entry to the human folk, that's another problem. We all need to play our role to help end rabies, vaccinating our dog, be a responsible pet owner. And those who can support corporate societies can help us. Thank you.
All right, thank you very, very much, Dr. Benjamin Kisi Sasu, also Dr. Sure. This is where we wrap up today's edition of The Pulse. We are making way for a special documentary on the man, the legend, the founder, Kwame Nkrumah. My name is Daniel Daz. Many thanks to Yao Forsen, Matilda Omega, Fred Smith, and Loretta. Kessie is also at the back for helping me with The Pulse today. I'll be back tomorrow on JoyNews Today. Enjoy the day.